Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Manish Shrestha, working as Assistant Professor at Haryana School of Business, GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Today, we are going to discuss about the topic International Payment System. Before starting the discussion, let's have a look at the contents. The discussion will start with the introduction of the topic, followed by objectives of international compensation, principles, components, approaches, challenges, and culture-based strategic compensation management under international context. It would end with the summary. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand the objectives of international compensation principles, of international compensation, challenges in international compensation, and impact of culture on international compensation. Global economy has resulted in the growth of MNCs in every hook and corner of the world. The internationalization of organizations and consequently of employees is growing dramatically in the recent times. Foreign investments are increasing exponentially, and so the number of foreign-owned domestic firms is growing. This is a common feature with every country. Every firm employs individuals from various foreign lands to fulfill its human resource requirement, and hence the need for an international system for remuneration or compensation of employees. This growing number of international workforce includes three types of employees: expatriates recruited called parent nationals. These are from regular organizations, conglomerate of international professionals and managers of diverse cultural backgrounds selected from different host countries. Third, country nationals. Owing to the huge cultural difference in all types of employees, the human resource managers are needed to coordinate policies and procedures for the firm's home country employees and also for subsidiaries employees all across the world to give a systematic shape to the international compensation system. This compensation system is expected to balance the needs, desires of PCNs, HCNs, and TCNs. The compensation given to all the three categories of workforce can vary considerably. Generally, the compensation given to local employees is the most cost effective. Actually, the more locals are employed at the work site, the lower the labor cost is and the higher is the return on invested capital. The cost involved in reallocation of any employee to a foreign land is substantial. Also, apart from the financial burden involved, sometimes stimulating and convincing an employee to move to a foreign land is not very easy. So, all the more additional benefits have to be offered. So, the question arises, why at all there is a need to send employees to a foreign site? The most common reason that have been suggested globally are: present employees that are currently living at foreign work site do not have the required skill sets or knowledge or related work experience. The organization plans to develop its existing workforce in such a way that they possess a global perspective. The organization wants to make international exposure a regular feature of the career development program of employees. Present employees who already live at foreign work site do not have necessary knowledge of the business, its operations, plans, policies, and strategies. The HR manager of an organization has to face a diverse set of issues managing the compensation of especially those employees who work in foreign countries. The compensation issues that crop up in this area may be like incentives needed to convince employees to move to and fro from a foreign location, allowances for repatriation, labor laws of host country, allowances to match the cost of living in the host country, currency fluctuations, existing compensation practices. Appoint employees to a foreign work site. Appointing employees with the required skill sets and know-how or convincing existing employees to relocate to a foreign work site demands the concerned HR to deal with a vast array of issues related to compensation as well as incentives. The designing of compensation package and calculation of various incentives and packs may vary from one employee to another and also across locations. The appointment of an employee at a particular location requires an analysis of few aspects. Every location has its unique plus and minus points, and the perception of these points also depends upon the thought process of individual employee. These plus and minus points may be related to geographical location, state of employment, climate, availability of educational institutions, medical facilities, and other social and political environmental factors. Relocation incentives are to be dealt with very cautiously by the HR managers. The first issue is that of the additional pay required to induce an employee to shift from his current location to a foreign site. Sometimes the location is so good and attractive that any employee would willingly agree to move only if the organization guarantees that he or she would be financially as well off as his home country. But actually, in most cases, an employee who is asked to relocate will definitely demand some premium over and above his or her current emoluments. The second issue involves housing. In several cases, the employee owns a house and expects the organization to either cover all expenses involved in selling that property or provide rental and maintenance assistance during his or her absenteeism from the country. The third concern that the organization has to take care of is that of all location and moving charges involved in shifting the employee along with his family. In certain cases, where moving the family is impractical and impossible, special arrangements have to be made by the organization for their maintenance and stay at the current residence. In such cases, the transfer will probably be limited to an year or two with at least one completely paid leave at home every year. Undesirable locations. In foreign work sites where climatic, political, or social conditions are not very favorable, a hardship or location allowance is additionally given to employees. As mentioned earlier, most compensation plans include cost equalization allowances that consist of difference between the cost of living in home country and host country. The point to be noted here is that most of the times compensation computations are done in home country currency, whereas actually the payments are made in host country currencies. Objectives of international compensation. The basic objective of international compensation is same as general compensation management, that is, the idea is to pay your employees fairly while staying in line with the company budget. However, understanding the ways in which international compensation management affects business outcomes can help you leverage your compensation plan to achieve better results for your company. Here are some of the additional objectives of international compensation management. That is, to attract the top talent. The primary goal of every compensation plan of the organization should be to recruit qualified talent. This can be achieved only when you have a competitive compensation plan in place. This makes an organization in a better position to attract top industry talent. to retain and reward personnel. Another objective of international compensation management is to retain and reward personnel of the organization. Don't lose your top talent to your rivals because employees consider that the grass will be greener elsewhere. Find out market values for your employees and pay accordingly. You can also set up pay for performance models to drive performance by encouraging associates to reach new goals and push further. To boost motivation. When structured effectively, your compensation plan can drive motivation across your teams. Employees who know that they are being fairly compensated for their work feel appreciated and are therefore more likely to stay engaged, committed, and productive. A well-developed compensation plan can also increase job satisfaction in general. To be compliant. Compensation isn't just about being fair within the industry. It must also comply with federal regulations such as Fair Labor Standards Act. While adhering to standards can complicate your compensation management, it will help protect your company against litigation and ensure fairness across the board of your personnel. To maximize return on investment. It requires some fine-tuning, but compensation management is most effective when you get the biggest bang for your buck. In other words, if you can create a compensation plan that stays within budget while also driving productivity through pay for performance and other motivational tactics, you are creating a plan that is both equitable for the company and advantageous for hardworking employees. Success of any compensation plan depends upon a lot of factors. These factors are including certain principles of international compensation. The principles are legal. International compensation should be based on the legal environment of the country. Different countries have different laws related to compensation. The compensation policies of the organization should be based on these laws of country. Adequate. Another principle of international compensation is that it should be adequate to fulfill the requirement of the employee. A person who works outside the country should be paid adequately so that he may easily bear all the expenses. Motivation principle. International compensation should be motivating. The employees should be paid enough so that they are willing to go on a foreign assignment. In this, salary and perquisite plays an important role. Principle of equity. Another principle of international compensation is that it should be equitable. Every employee should be paid on equal basis according to the work assigned to them. Cost benefit effectiveness. Compensation paid to the employees is one of the major component of total cost of the organization. Therefore, organization should evaluate cost benefit analysis of such compensation. Principle of security. The international compensation should provide security to the employees. As the employees are outside the country, the company should take care of the employees. Components of internal compensation include base salary, benefits, allowances, incentive, hardship premium, long-term benefits, taxes. Base salary is generally set according to the compensation structure of the country. Therefore, an Indian manager working for United States MNC and assigned to Germany would have a base salary structure in India. This basic pay acts as a benchmark against which all the benefits are calculated. Benefits also in the form of indirect compensation constitutes a large portion of international pay package. These may include a wide list of items like festival celebrations, gifts, transportation facility, vehicle, telephone bills, etc. In fact, it is the general tendency of employees to stick to organizations that generate lucrative benefit options. Allowances are also an important part of international compensation system. The most significant component of international compensation is the difference between the cost of living in home and in foreign location. House allowance, relocation allowance are some other common allowances. Hardship premium is something that is treated as an inducement to accept an overseas assignment. Such premium varies from 5 to 40% of the base salary. Actually, the compensation calculated is based upon the assignment, hardships, tax differences, and length of assignment. The most common long-term benefit offered to employees is employee stock option schemes, also known as ESOS. Some of the valuable stock option schemes are ESOP. A specific number of shares are reserved to be issued to key employees. RSU, restricted stock units are allowed but with restrictions. ESPP, employee stock purchase plan, is a plan where shares are sold to employees at a discounted rates. Approaches to international compensation. Globally, the practices involved in calculation of international compensation vary. These approaches to compensation computation are affected by economic, political, and social environment prevailing within the host as well as foreign work site where employees are posted. It also depends upon the level of employee within the organization. In United States, the compensation includes bonus, long-term incentives, benefits, and perks that are added to the base salary. Here, actually, the base salary constitutes a small portion of total compensation package. In Europe, the perks and benefits paid to employees are higher than the United States, although the compensation packages are comparatively lower. The Japanese CEOs receive compensation just one-third as compared to their American counterparts. Challenges in international pay systems. Organizations that comprises of workforces from different nationalities face challenges in relation to compensation and reward in each of the operating countries. Gradually, international compensation systems are growing complex due to new issues creeping day by day, and HR managers are finding it difficult to apply local compensation practices and are not able to fully apply standardized frameworks. The diversity in political systems, customs, and legal framework of the country adds complexity to the HR working. The multinational companies' HR managers have to customize their working in line with region-specific culture, level of economic development, labor unions, standard of living, etc. Fluctuations in exchange rates have to be continuously tracked and adjustments are to be made accordingly. Along with all above challenges, the employees are to be compensated for cost of housing, children education, transportation, and other living expenses. These varied challenges are faced by international compensation system. A suitable system can be designed only after establishing a balance amongst all of these. Culture plays an important role in stimulating various human resource systems and subsystems in the organization. Organizational culture depends upon the effective performance management. Culture-based compensation management means culture of an organization which reinforce, echoes those behavior, values and actions which are positive, constructive and meaningful and tends to reward. Different type of cultures are prevailing in different organizations, such as apathetic culture. In apathetic culture, zero importance is given to the people and their performance. These organizations are risk-free and non-competitive in nature. Managers in such organizations are concerned about their job security and protect themselves from any kind of disadvantage. Promotions are very slow and automatic, and performance evaluations are rare. Another culture is paternalistic culture. Under this culture, more focus is given on the people who are less sincere about their performance. In this culture, people feel themselves very secure, trusted, and fairly treated. Organizations fulfill the needs of the employees such as daycare, flexible time period, etc. Demanding culture. Under demanding culture, importance is given to the efficiency, individual performance, job position, and competition. The compensation of employees is dependent upon his performance. Here, improving performance is a constant challenge. In such cultures, strategic compensation is highly valued and is an important part of the competitive priorities. And finally, the involvement culture. Under this culture, importance are given to both people and performance. Organizations with such culture are more competitive, innovative, risk-taking, and group importance. Here, people continuously motivated and nurtured for regular improvement. These are actually truly learning organizations. Everyone has a stake in group incentive plan, and also stock ownership in most of the cases. To summarize the discussion, generally the compensation given to local employees is the most cost effective. Actually, the more locals are employed at the work site, the lower the labor cost is, and the higher is the return on invested capital. The cost involved in reallocation of any employee to a foreign land is substantial. Also, apart from the financial burden involved, sometimes stimulating and convincing an employee to move to a foreign land is not very easy. So, all the more additional benefits have to be offered. So, the question arises, why at all there is a need to send employees to a foreign site? Components of international compensation includes base salary, benefits, allowances, incentives, hardship premium, long-term benefits, and taxes. The basic objective of international compensation is same as general compensation management, that is, the idea is to pay your employees fairly while staying in line with the company budget. However, understanding the ways in which international compensation management affects business outcomes can help you leverage your compensation plan to achieve better results for your company. Globally, the practices involved in calculation of international compensation vary. These approaches to compensation computation are affected by economic, political, and social environment prevailing within the host as well as foreign worksite where employees are posted. It also depends upon the level of employee within the organization. Culture plays an important role in stimulating various human resource systems and subsystems in the organization. Organizational culture depends upon the effective performance management. Culture-based compensation management means culture of an organization which reinforces, echoes those behavior, values, and actions which are positive, constructive, and meaningful and tend to reward. Different types of cultures are prevailing in different organizations. Happy learning!